Now, as time goes on, it is getting harder and harder to get a flat signal out of some of these fancy, more luxurious vehicles. Now, does that mean we have to turn away business? No, because here on today's Connected, we're going to show you some new solutions with audio interfaces that'll get you that flat signal in certain applications that you may not know about. The brand providing these solutions is Rdvfl. And we've got the owner, Rich De Sclafani, joining us today to break down a couple key applications that you need to know about. This is CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM, all about Rdvfl. And it starts now. What's going on, guys, and welcome to another CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu, and you are tuned into CMA Networks, where we talk mobile electronics day in and day out. The theme is OEM integration. That's right, getting into the factory settings and doing what we want. And in this case, building a great sound system. The problem? Well, simply there are vehicles out there that, well, up until today, might not have had a solution for. Getting a flat signal isn't quite the same as it was before because of DSP, different crossover settings, some have no bass, you name it, there's all kinds of obstacles. Now add to that the different layers of communication that different manufacturers are using, whether it's Ethernet, A to B, the list goes on and on. Well, today we're talking to Rich De Sclafani from Rdvfl to break down some key solutions that they've managed to figure out something to do with. So Rich, what are we going to be talking about on today's show?
Hey, Ben. Of course, as always, it's a massive pleasure to be here and appreciate you having me on. Today, we're going to be talking about preamp interfaces for traditionally difficult vehicles and niche solutions and applications.
All right, you better tune in and find out which solutions Rich has up his sleeve. But first, an opportunity for our partner, SiriusXM, to remind you why it's always a great attachment sale. And when we come back, let's get into some of these niche applications that Rich is talking about. We'll see you after the break.
Hey, Paul here with SiriusXM, and I'd like to talk to you about attachment selling and why the SiriusXM product is one of the best things to add, especially since we don't trade dollars with any other category. I could go through all of this, but let's hear what some of our dealers have to say.
It's an easy add-on that takes, 10, 15 minutes if we're running an antenna, 1 minute if we've got an adapter to plug it into the factory SiriusXM antenna, and it's extra money, so no brainer.
I present it to every customer because a lot of customers don't know what all they can do with Sirius. They don't know what all content they could have. It just makes too much sense not to sell it.
It creates a different customer loyalty and customer security when you explain to them why it's a better experience. Just gets them back in the door. And then the next car, they're already asking for it again. So it just keeps selling itself. It makes more sense.
Well, there you have it. You heard from our dealers. Just remember some of the best practices. Make sure you have one on display so you can demo it. Make sure you're taking advantage of our rewards program, because if you're not taking advantage of that, you're leaving even more money on the table. Make sure you got our POP up on display. And other than that, just make sure you're recommending it.
And welcome back to the show. And I want to welcome my guest, Rich De Sclafani. Rich, good to have you back. Now, this one's a good one because I think everything we're going to cover on today's show might be an eye-opener and maybe even a relief to some of our audience tuning in. So why don't we identify what the problem is? I kind of spoke to it a little bit, but you recognized early on that there is definitely a challenge when integrating into some of these vehicles.
Absolutely. Of course, thank you for having me on, Ben. Love being here. But there's definitely a lot of challenge with a lot of these newer vehicles as far as extracting audio from the factory system. And, everybody knows that traditionally going after the factory amplifier and grabbing signal there is not going to yield the same results as if you go in between the radio and the amplifier itself and grab signal directly from the radio.
So what is the problem? Why is it hard to get that signal between the amplifier and the radio?
It's just because the data systems are so complex. The audio packages these days and the way they're sending audio and the additional data information that's, kind of embedded in the signals as well has become extremely challenging and difficult to, extract and reproduce properly through the output to, whatever device you're using. So it's been really, really challenging to crack the factory code in a lot of these vehicles, and it's getting more and more difficult, more and more complex. More and more stuff is integrated into these systems, like collision avoidance and things like that. So you have all these additional, features that are integral to the vehicle, that are embedded into these systems now, and extracting the digital signal from them is not as anywhere near as easy as it used to be with like fiber optic systems, for example, like most and stuff.
I was just going to say, gone are the days of just grabbing that old high-low adapter off the rack and, tapping her in, and next thing you know, plug it to an amp and away you go. That is not the case anymore. More so than that, you mentioned like fiber optic, but there's different platforms of communication on top of that we have to deal with, depending on which vehicle, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, they're all using their own proprietary communication, essentially. The older most systems were a little more standardized, you could say. They were a lot more simplistic. There was a lot less information traveling over them, but now all the manufacturers are using a much more proprietary communication system for all of their components in the vehicles. And, like you had said about grabbing, a lot of the high level solutions, a lot of the output voltage on these amplifiers is, extremely high, 25 volts, stuff like that. So, your standard, grabbing high level into a high low converter, you'll release the magic smoke really quick with something like that. With 25 volt coming out of the amp. So, yeah, it's not even feasible to do some of the old school stuff that we're familiar with as far as being able to grab audio signal. And then, the quality of the signal is a whole nother story on top of that.
Well, we're going to talk about both, because I think what we're going to talk about is a solution that you've come up with for, number one, A, integrating into the system and getting the signal, B, getting a flat signal, which is the basis of everything that has to do with a good sound system and being able to control that. And also having the applications that you have. See, the thing is with Rdvfl, you have always come up and kind of specialized in these niche applications that nobody seems to go after. If you guys watched our session on source units, Maserati, Bentley, like nobody else has stuff for these type of vehicles. And I think we're going to see examples of that today. So what we're done, Rich, just so you know, I've kind of picked the 5 top applications that we always see comments coming in on. Hey, where's the solution for this? Or is there a solution exists for that? So let's start with the first one. Very unique. And there's a lot of these vehicles, believe it or not, especially people with disposable incomes that probably have these vehicles and want better sound, right? So the first application we're going to talk about is Land Rover, Range Rover, and Jaguar. What solution do you have for that?
Yeah, so actually we have 2 solutions for Land Rover, Range Rover, Jaguar. The first being for the fiber optic MOST 25 system, which has been around in those vehicles since about 2004. So we do cover the older vehicles as well, up to about 2020-ish is where this piece takes over. For the newer Land Rover, Range Rover, Jaguar vehicles, this is for the new Ethernet-based system with the LVDS style connector on the amplifier. So this is a really, really difficult system to integrate into without this. Grabbing signal after the amplifier is extremely challenging and difficult. So it's really nice to have a niche solution for those vehicles that you really can't find anywhere else. So really, really happy about this piece.
Now, Rich, as you know, I talk to a lot of people, right? And basically I talk car audio all the time, every day. And I can't recall ever hearing of another solution for the Range Rover, Land Rover, Jaguar. Am I safe to assume this might be the only one on the market right now?
Yeah, I'm not aware of anybody else that has a solution for the Ethernet-based systems. The MOST system has been around for a while, so we're not the only solution there for sure. But I'm not aware of anybody else that has a solution for the Ethernet-based systems with the LVDS style plug on the amplifier. So yeah, I mean, we try to do our best to specialize in the vehicles that nobody else wants and being niche and tackling some of the difficult stuff that's not so mainstream.
That right there is totally Rdvfl's jam. I love it. Okay, let's transition to the next piece. This piece, guys, covers a whole lot of vehicles. Every single one of you has had these vehicles come in, and whether you figured out how to do it or you simply just shied away from doing it, well, guess what? No need to shy away. Newer BMWs. Richard, take it away.
Yeah, so for newer BMWs from about 2019 and up, with the Harman Kardon system, essentially the only solution that's out there at this point is to just go after the amplifier. And it's not a very friendly system to grab signal from and to integrate into even after the amplifier. So really, really happy to have this piece that works with the Ethernet based system, with the newer BMWs with the Harman Kardon that have the RAM module. Everybody's familiar with the RAM module systems in those cars. So this integrates into that. This actually T-harnesses into the factory system in the rear of the vehicle, and retains all of the factory equipment. So this does not actually completely replace the factory amplifier or the RAM module. They stay intact because those integrate with the data system more extensively than just audio. So those stay, and we actually have a plug-and-play harness that has speaker wire leads built into it, so you could connect your amplifier outputs directly to our T-harness, and that prevents you from having to actually cut into the factory wiring and connect directly to the factory speaker wires that are coming out of the factory amp. So a really, really nice solution, all plug and play. Gives you everything you need: remote turn on for your DSP and your amp, Toslink output, fully flat digital signal directly from the interface to your DSP.
Rich, I got to commend you. The T-harness solution that goes with that BMW piece is absolutely awesome because, well, let's be honest, that's going to save a lot of headaches, plug and play, and it's great. While we're on the topic of higher-end European vehicles, Mercedes-Benz is another headache. And there's a ton of Mercedes-Benz vehicles on the market, but you have a solution for it. So let's hear about it.
Yeah, Mercedes actually has evolved into 3 different systems. So we have 3 different solutions for Mercedes depending on the year of the vehicle. Starting with most 25, we cover from 04 to the teens, just depending on the vehicle and the year and the audio package. And then somewhere along the line, it transitioned to most 150. So we cover all of the most 150 vehicles as well, up to about 2019. And from 2020 on, the vehicles with the coax system, we cover those as well. So we have you covered pretty much from 2004 into current vehicles with Mercedes and other models as well. But yeah, Mercedes, we have you covered with 3 different interfaces: most 25, most 150, and digital coax. So really, really awesome.
Well, the takeaway from that one, Rich, is you have pretty much the entire range covered for all 3 different versions of BMW. So again, if you have a BMW in the Bay and they want to upgrade their sound system, maybe you want to take a look at Rich's interfaces. Save a ton of headache and guaranteed that flat signal that you're looking for. Okay, 2 more to go, and 2 really big ones. I mean, I don't know how much bigger as an application you can get than this, but we're talking about Toyota and Lexus.
Yeah, so Toyota Lexus is definitely a brand that is very unique in their audio packages. So there's not a lot of solutions out there in the market, and we don't cover all of the different Toyota Lexus trim packages. So we cover a very specific amplifier package, and it specifically has to have this connector on it. There's some qualifiers that go along from the outside that you can look at on the vehicle, like the user interface and the layout, to identify which system it has. And this one has a really, really nice option as far as outputs. This has 6-channel out, front, rear, and sub, as well as digital coax and Toslink output. So this gives you a couple different options as far as outputs and what you use as far as amplification. So if you wanted to go just low level in RCA, you can do that, or you can go Toslink, into a DSP or something like that. And this is just all pretty much T-harness in. You do have to give it power and ground, and it does have a remote out, as do all of the preamp interfaces that give you a remote output for your DSP or your amp. And this is a really, really nice solution for Toyota Lexus that gives you the ability to upgrade that sound system. And a lot of times there's not a lot of information or products available for those applications.
All right, last but not least, guys, this one's going to be a big one because, man, I can't tell you how many times we get comments on this. GM with Bose. There's so many people that take this Bose package and they're not happy with that Bose system. Well, no longer is this going to be a problem. We have a solution. Rich, take it away.
Well, I mean, we all know the saying about Bose. I don't have to reiterate, but we won't go there. So definitely one of the more sought after upgrades in GM vehicles is the audio system, and the Bose package is a very, very popular package for those vehicles. So a lot of vehicles have Bose, and Bose from GM the last 5-6 years has been traditionally difficult to integrate into. So really happy that we have this really awesome interface that interfaces digitally with a T-harness into the factory Bose system and provides you with a completely flat digital high resolution Toslink output directly to your DSP, and makes the integration into those vehicles really, really straightforward. Retains all of the factory audio as far as door chimes and seatbelt, etc. It's all adjustable, so you can make sure that it's the exact volume that you need it to be, and really, really makes a huge difference in the GMs with the Bose package.
I'd like to take this opportunity and thank my guest today, Rich De Sclafani from Rdvfl. They're coming to the table with some really, really much needed solutions to integrate and get audio systems upgraded in some of the most popular platforms, and some not so popular, but now have a solution for, coming to you from Rdvfl. These are preamp audio interfaces. You get a flat signal, you get it between the amplifier and the radio. Get that optical out to whatever DSP or DSP amplifier combination you're looking for. Now, if you want more details as far as applications go or any specs, make sure you head on over to the website at rdvfl.com. Again, OEM integration is about finding solutions. It's about saying yes to the customer. It's about being aware of the hardware that's available so that you can build it into your package when you're quoting a customer. Too many times are we saying no. Too many times are we concerned about not getting the right signal or not having the right output. These are the type of products that make life easier, and really at the end of the day make customers happier, because all they want is better sound. Your job is to know about these products, use them, and deliver that final sound that your customer is looking for. That's it for this CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu. Until next time, we connect.